That's scary enough. All right, we're back. The Dude Brothers, Max and Chubbs. Today we have something a little special to us. Going back in time again to 1987, the vampire classic, The Lost Boys. Culture classic. Many people I've heard over the years, everybody loves this. So we're going to give our take, what we remember and what we like about it. So here we go. In 3, 2, 1. The saxophone player, of course.
Michael and Sam have just moved to Santa Carla, California.
Santa Carla.
Yeah. We'll talk about that at the end.
It's secret.
There it is.
Unusual about Santa Carla yet?
No. It's a pretty cool place. If you're a Martian.
Or a vampire?
Or a Corey.
Yeah. The song, yeah.
Keith or Sutherland.
Peak time of these guys.
Yeah. I think the dog's name was the Nook.
Nanook, yeah. Beautiful husky.
Yeah.
Get yourself a good sharp stick.
And shove it right up.
My brother, a damn blood-sucking vampire. You wait till Mom finds out, buddy.
When a vampire bites it, it's never
The Frog Brothers.
The mom in this I just saw in something recently.
Diane Weiss.
Yeah, I saw in something recently.
Parenthood. Love it.
Yeah.
Wait, I can't spell.
So that is the Lost Boys trailer. Very cool.
The Lost Boys was one of those, like we watch many, where it changed the face of horror and a certain horror, because the first horror movie ever made was Nosferatu.
Yeah.
The 20s, maybe the first movie on film.
And I mean, I just thought about this, but it's like, how many horror movies where, the horror, the villain or whatever is like cool, like the hip rock and roll,
right?
Awesome. Jason, Freddy Krueger,
right?
Those aren't exactly somebody you'd want to be.
You have, they're teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
They're mixed in society. They got their own ways. For the time, they dress cool. So you have the family moves to this city in California, and they're told a couple times about vampires, and they end up running into them. And
I think the city is known for like people going missing.
They have a scene capital of the world.
Yeah, they have a scene where they show all the missing persons posters on the thing.
And fun fact, they filmed in in the movie it's Santa Carla, I believe you said, but in real life it was Santa something else. I'm sorry, but in order to film in the city, whoever gave them permission said you got to change the name because you're calling it the murder capital of the world. So now you see the carnival, that's real.
Yeah, it's like one of those boardwalks.
The boardwalk pier. Now, special to us, he goes to a comic book shop.
Something else that's real. That comic book shop's a real comic book shop.
He found it.
I want to say the name of the comic book shop is it's like Big Top Comics, something to do with a circus or something like Big Top Comics. It's a real comic book store. When they filmed there, I think the owner played a little cameo. You can see his back. He's playing a pinball machine, just like, so he's in it, I think the comic book shop's still open,
So in that scene, Corey Haim's character goes in and he runs into Edgar and Allan Frog, the Frog Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he goes to look for a certain comic, which was he was looking for, or he mentions.
Well, yeah, he's not looking for the vampires, but the Frog Brothers suggest to him vampire comic books.
No, I thought wasn't he looking for Superman, or he brings up?
Yeah, no, he was saying that the Frog Brothers didn't have the comics in order. I think the thing he says was he had the the Supermans mixed up where like he made a comment like, oh, you got number whatever here. He's like Rid Kryptonite wasn't even discovered yet, so
and we love comics, so it was great to see they actually brought it up. But the Frog Brothers, who obviously live there, know there's a vampire problem. Tells them you might want to read this.
Yeah,
and
there's 2 comics. I think one of them is Vampires Everywhere, and another one was Destroy All Vampires. Now,
do we know if these are Marvel or
no? What it is in the movie, the one he's reading is just a prop comic.
Okay.
But I want to say that comic book shop that's still open, they have so many people going there, like as a pilgrimage. They actually came up with one of them's real. Like I think Destroy All Vampires. One of the comics is an actual real book.
Okay.
And another one was just a prop comic. Now, so what they did was they took the cover off of the prop comic and made a comic inside of it. And the comic it talks about the Hounds of Hell. It talks about, I always wanted to get one. They're out there. You can find them. You can buy them, It's like one of the one comics we don't have here. But, yeah.
It's priceless now, I'm sure. Or wanted, like.
Well, yeah, I mean, they remake them, so it's cool.
So, in the movie, Corey Haim's brother, played by Jason Patric Michael, he's the older sibling. He runs into the gang, doesn't know they're vampires. They all ride motocross.
He thinks he's
motorcycles.
interacting with the hid vampire, Keith Sutherland's character.
Right. They get him to turn to a vampire by drinking the blood. He doesn't believe it's the blood. And he's like, sure. And
They
the
also
girl
get him,
warns him.
you're eating maggots, Michael.
Yeah, he tricks him by using...
Turns
that's
the
thing.
rice into maggots and...
They introduce interesting old and new powers for the vampires. They didn't show them fly. They insinuate they fly by the camera in the air.
Right.
They rarely just bite. I don't think they actually bite anybody. They just murder somebody, but to turn, he gives them the blood.
Yeah, he drinks the blood.
Right.
He drinks the blood. That's
Right.
true. Yeah, like he's usually...
And then the girl and the little boy, like, weren't bitten. I think they were drank because they have to be covered in this. Like when they bring them out, they cover the girl, and
they weren't full-fledged vampires.
Yeah, you get Alex Winter from Bill and Ted as one of the vampires.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's the first one to be killed by the Frog Brothers who stake him.
And what's cool is they make a comment that every time you kill a vampire, they die a different way. So, like, if you stab one with a stake, he might blow up. You stab another one, he might melt. Another one, might move to Florida. You never know how they're going to die.
Now, to go off what you were saying, in the movie, everybody, even when you're watching it, you think Keith Sutherland, who's the leader of the gang, but the main point of the story is that the actual leader is the guy who owns, like, one of the shops.
Where the mom works, where the boys...
Where she ends up working. And his plan is to get into her life by dating her, getting to know the kids and everything. But the plan goes awry, and they have to fight. And
the guy who actually turns out to be the hid vampire is actually Dennis the Menace's dad.
That's right. Which his name is Max in the movie, by the way.
Macaulay Culkin. Excellent. Macaulay Culkin, Dennis the Menace.
Right.
He's the dad.
He's been in a million things, but
that was the most significant.
And he was perfect because he looked normal, like your everyday guy,
nerdy,
right? And they made
like you would expect Keith Sutherland's character to be a bad guy.
They made that gang look like they were long hair and things, but some of the best parts, like they go to the train tracks, hang underneath as a test, but Michael thinks they're just trying to be badasses and like test his being a manhood, but they're supernatural. He doesn't realize it. So they turn Michael, and then Corey Haim's got to deal with it, and he goes and sees the Frog Brothers from the comic shop, and they say, well, we got to find where their hive is, and they go take out Alex Winters. Then one thing I like is the last part of the movie is the vampires are going to get them, and they're barricaded in the house. Yeah. But you also have Michael turns, uses his powers to fight back. So you get a cool vampire fight. Yeah. Usually it's just a Van Helsing fights Count Dracula. Right. Now they bring it to a level, and I think that's why people. It like
almost reminds me of like the A-Team. It's like the vampires are coming, they're boarding up the thing, they're filling.
They go get holy water.
Yeah, filling up water balloons or whatever. Or super soakers.
They fill the bathtub with garlic and holy water. Yeah. They shoot one with an arrow. They push one into the tub, and they shoot. The arrow goes into the
radio.
vampire into the stereo,
Right.
and he blows up like they were mentioning.
And what does Corey say? He's death by stereo.
Death by stereo.
Mhm.
The one in the tub melts, so you get what they were talking about.
Right.
Then Michael pushes David into antlers because the grandpa
Yeah.
in the movie, who the grandpa saves the day.
Right.
He was putting fence posts in the ground. He has a fence board post in his truck.
Mm-hmm.
Goes through the house, launches it into Max,
He actually ends up being like the big hero at the end.
and they leave it in a weird place.
And the
where
grandpa knew about the vampires the
he
whole time.
knew. He says,
Yeah.
like one thing about this place that's bad
Yeah.
is vampires.
He's like, it's a nice place to live.
And you're like,
involves
oh, he
vampires.
knew.
Mhm.
And even the mom, before the grandpa comes out, they're looking at him like, is he a vampire?
Right.
And he's all, but one of the best vampire movies. It changed the genre. It gave you different vampires, different hunters, took the lore, but kept it like he says, I'm not going to come into your house till the man of the house invites me.
Yeah.
He plays it as I'm dating your mom, but they go with the lore. Now, they don't talk about silver, by the way, in the movie,
No.
which sometimes it hurts vampires, sometimes it
Do
doesn't.
crosses bother him?
I don't think they
kinda-
bring that up,
I
by
kind
the
of
way.
picture him like when they're getting everything together. I kind of picture him having a cross, but I don't think it comes into play.
I don't think they do that.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think that comes
Right.
into play.
But this, by the way, like, stay tuned because we're gonna do another one called Fright Night, where it rearranges the vampires to a suburban setting,
Yeah.
and we're gonna talk about it another time. But this was talking about the Lost Boys. Now, don't you have something special to deal with something from here that goes with the movie?
Well, we do have in the Dude Brother comic collection.
We're in the comic vault right now.
This is a number one, Lost Boys. Pretty good comic, actually.
Who made it?
That's a good question. It's I can't see, it's so damn dark in here, but it's not Marvel or DC.
Something W.
Yeah. But actually pretty cool. I want to say they had a bunch of different ones. You know,
Well, by the way, they did make sequels to
Wild
the Lost
Storm.
Boys. But
Wild Storm is the
I've heard of them.
Yeah.
But they made sequels to the movies. They're not that great. But the
They
last
made-
one brought back the Frog Brothers, both of them,
yeah.
to fight.
They made a lot of sequels out.
And I
didn't
saw
know.
2 of them, and they weren't that great.
No, they
The
kind of got
story
they were
was
like
lacking.
made for TV movies kind of
Almost
thing.
on demand, like
Yeah.
you find it at Walmart.
But they made a bunch of them.
So if you're a fan of horror, if you're a fan of vampires,
This
or-
movie, yeah, you don't even need to be a horror nut to watch this movie. You know, like it's not, you know,
it's a lot of like suspense drama where
right.
as the audience you're like, well, okay, what are they gonna do? But there's this other plot, and oh, they killed the head vampire. Oh, he's not the head. Like
Right.
they keep you on the edge of your seat.
Mhm.
You're pretty much Corey Haim in the movie. You're the little brother who's dealing with it. You have his dog that saves him from his brother Nanook, the great, beautiful husky. But definitely check it out for yourself. Watch the movie. Come back and tell us what you thought. And we're going to definitely bring you more. So, from the Comic Vault, we are the Dude Brothers. He is Max. I am Chubbs. And to quote the great Happy Harry, eat your cereal with a fork and do your homework in the dark. Over and out.
I don't like horror comics. Had sex with all these beer cans, but I'm only in love with one.